Medical professionals, what is the stupidest misconception a patient has had about the human body? I still remember reading a Reddit comment from a doctor years ago that they were telling the person they were about to lose a finger. They said the person seemed way too okay with it, so the doctor asked how they were handling it so well, and the person genuinely told them that it won't be too bad because at least fingers grow back. It began a whole slew of comments from other doctors with patients who had the same misconceptions about limb amputations. Mom brought newborn to the ER because he keeps making grunting sounds like he can't breathe. No sounds like this during the exam. They ask mom to try having baby latch or nurse. She doesn't, baby is fine. Sometime later pages the nurse because he's making noises. They were bowel sounds. Normal bowel sounds. Hilarious, but she was worried. 10 out of 10 good mom. Patient comes to the ER with an infected foot wound and streaking up the leg. Turns out they were walking barefoot on their porch and stepped on some metal scraps. Don't remember what they were from. Patient tried to remove these, but evidently a piece of one broke off in the process and was too deep to see or grasp properly. So they left it in there for over a week. Reasoning was, I thought it would fester out. Patient with seafood allergy presents to ER with swollen lips, hives, itchy throat. Provider takes a history asking if the patient could have been exposed to seafood or cross-contamination. Have they eaten new food or at a new establishment? The whole nine. While being treated, patient adamantly denies this. They keep trying to figure out what the allergen could have been because it's a pretty strong reaction. Eventually the patient gets frustrated and admits they ate shrimp pasta, but it can't be from that because he took 2 tablespoons of honey first and it coats things in there. As in, shrimp can somehow not penetrate the magical honey fortress. They seem to think that, by pausing a seizure to inform us that they're having a seizure, they'll get benzos. Laugh out loud. No. I had a couple seizures about 3 years ago, and I have absolutely no idea what I looked like. I can't imagine faking it. Not a medical professional but a biology teacher. Anyone who has seen a picture of the pituitary gland may understand why I had a student who thought the testicles were in the brain. There are a few times a year where a teacher may have to try and hide their incredulous astonishment at student misconceptions, and I'm ashamed to say I didn't manage it that time. What do you mean, I can't eat an entire fruit cake? Isn't fruit supposed to be healthy? Diabetic type 2. I had to explain to a pregnant woman once, that the baby is coming out of her vagina. She was almost 6 months pregnant and was horrified. I think she thought all babies were just C-sectioned out. I overheard a guy talking to another at a pregnancy clinic. I just don't get it, she was standing up, and the sperm would have just come out. How is she pregnant? And both of them seemed very confused. One person didn't think the stroke they were having was a big deal because they could get some brain transplanted from donors, right? I couldn't even. I'm a dentist, and the thing we get all the time that I hate is parents not caring about their child's decay because they are just baby teeth. Losing baby teeth early causes all sorts of problems aside from the pain and trauma, but in addition to that I often have to explain to parents that the adult teeth that erupt at age 6 are meant to last forever. They're always oblivious. I offered a diabetic a tissue after doing a finger prick to mop the 2 drops of blood on his finger. He looked at me like I was an absolute idiot, said you don't know very much do you, and sucked the blood off his finger. Then spent the next 5 minutes educating me that because he was a diabetic, he needed all the blood he had. Therefore he needed to put it back into his body rather than wasting it by putting it on a tissue. He was under the impression that if he just drank his blood it would go straight back into circulation. My mother asked me once, completely serious, why brain transplants were not possible. She didn't understand why if you had an inoperable brain tumor they couldn't just pop a new one in there like it was a heart or liver. I tried to explain to her that it wouldn't be the same person, but she just stared at me blankly. I love my mother, but that was probably one of the stupidest conversations I've ever had. I once administered a certain type of breathing test to a 58-years-old female patient who worked at a manufacturing plant on 8-hour shifts. In self-reporting her smoking history, she told me she smoked up to 8 packs of cigarettes a day. I think her misconception was that she was going to live forever. My favorite was a patient calling my department 3 times with concerns about having to abstain from taking her blood pressure medication prior to an exercise treadmill stress test. She's afraid one missed dose of her metoprolol would give her a heart attack. She is very concerned because her blood pressure is so high these days. So I asked her if she's taking all her prescribed doses. She said she's supposed to take it twice a day, but often she only takes it in the morning. And only half of what her doctor ordered. So effectively this lady was taking 1/4 of her blood pressure medication and couldn't figure out why her pressure isn't under control. I had breast reduction surgery. My husband went to the pre-operation appointment with me. The doctor was explaining the surgery and mentioned they would remove my nipples. My husband asked where they were going to get new ones from. 12 years later, and we joke about wondering where the nipple locker is. I'm in the mental health field, but I met with a client who was worried that if their relative had a heart transplant, would the relative still love and remember them? The logic being that the feeling of love lives in the heart. Had a mother ask if it was true that the soft spot of her baby's head was like a whale blowhole that he could breathe out of. Apparently her own mother had told her that. A couple was pregnant and didn't understand why, since they were taking the birth control pill. It turns out it was the guy who was taking it.